Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. An annual national survey out recently that shows New Jersey has the 5th highest rent in the country. Staci Berger is president and CEO of the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey. 5th, where were we in the past?
We've been as low as 7th or 8th. Last year we were 6th, and we continue to move up in that ranking.
Yeah, and I asked specifically to find out which direction we're going in.
Well, we've had about 10 years of disinvestment in New Jersey's housing market from the state government. This is the first year that we are expecting to have a restoration of the Housing Trust Fund, and we hope that that will help take pressure off the housing market and make it more affordable for people to live here.
Explain the disinvestment.
So the state has a housing trust fund that is supposed to go to help create homes that people can afford. Unfortunately, the former Governor Christie, made a real art form out of taking funding out of that and other dedicated funds. And this is the first year that both the legislature and the governor are proposing to fully fund that resource. So we are fingers crossed for June 30th that budget item will continue, and that will help make sure that folks have an affordable place to call home.
So when money is put into the housing fund, how does that bring rent down?
It helps make more homes affordable by making sure that there's resources to build new homes and rehab old ones so that people have a rental or a home ownership opportunity that they didn't have before.
And how does that work? Are these government homes or?
No, these are developed by nonprofit developers, and in some cases for profit, but they're all affordable homes. So if Habitat needs a resource or folks developing an apartment building that could create more affordable rentals, that housing resource investment, which everyone pays for when they buy or sell a house, that resource actually becomes available to developers, whether they're folks like Habitat or other nonprofits or other for-profit developers.
And that simply becomes supply and demand.
Correct. And what we really have in New Jersey is a supply problem. We don't have enough homes that people can afford, especially here in the shore area where some people still are not home from Superstorm Sandy. Those folks are renting while they're waiting to rebuild their homes, or that their kids are still living with them at home because they can't afford to find a rental, or they can't rather find a rental that they can afford. There's just not enough places for people to rent.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I read that in the write-up about the report, and they specifically talked about Superstorm Sandy. You would think this many years later,
you would think
it wouldn't be that big of a problem.
There are still thousands of people who have not completely restored their homes, partly because, or in large part because the former administration really did not do a great job with the Sandy recovery program. And so there are still people who are trying to make sure they don't get foreclosed on, for example, and really putting the last touches on some of their homes. But there are folks who are still fighting to make sure that they can keep their home.
Because they're paying a rent and a mortgage at the same time, and still waiting for the money for their homes in many cases,
yeah,
or for their homes to be rebuilt.
Correct. And so someone who didn't previously, who previously was a homeowner and is now a renter is in a fixed market, in a tight supply market like we have, especially here in the shore. The vacancy rate is almost zero for rentals. You just have a situation where the market is very, very tight, and so that allows rents to go up, astronomically. It's why a lot of the funding that came through in the Superstorm Sandy recovery went into creating multifamily opportunities so that people can afford to rent a place here.
I would think that not all of it is a government issue. Not all of it is because of Sandy. Some of it's a good reason, right? Because we're a popular state to live. We have a lot of people in a small area. You have New York to the north. You have Philadelphia to the south, and people want to live in those communities. And people like coming to the Jersey Shore. So in a way, even though the rent is high, there's a positive reason for it because people want to live here.
Well, it's positive that people want to live here, and we want people to live here. Jersey's a great place. That goes with
the supply and demand, though.
Right. Unfortunately, the folks who can't afford it to live here are doing a few things. Sometimes they're moving out of state and then commuting back here an hour, 2 hours, and that makes the commute for everybody and the traffic for everybody worse. And it also means that they're not able to be part of the fabric of the community in which they work. More than 25 occupations in the study that we just released. Out of the 25 top occupations, 21 of those folks would have to work somewhere in the neighborhood of 62 hours a week just to be able to afford a fair market rent apartment.
You broke it down. You broke it down exactly what kind of wage you'd need.
Right. So you need, in order to afford a two-bedroom apartment in all of New Jersey, the housing wage is about $28.86. Not really about, that's a pretty precise number. It's $28.86. At minimum wage, which is only $8.85 an hour, you'd have to work 130 hours a week, which is essentially 3 full-time jobs. And
it's interesting
which
because
is an insane thing to ask anyone in 2019 to expect that.
Right,
yeah.
And you're not the only person that's looking at this.
Sure.
We've talked to New Jersey Business and Industry Association, and they're concerned about this because they said that millennials and people coming out of, I don't know what the new generation's called, but people coming out of college now aren't able to stay here because they can't find rent. So they go to find jobs in other states where they can afford it.
Right.
And that means we're losing our talent pool.
There's no disagreement there. I mean, there are definitely folks who are leaving New Jersey because they can't afford to live here, and that's not good for us, for our industry, for our economy. And I think we need to make sure that we're investing in the future of our state so that everyone can afford to call New Jersey.
And I think all of this is important because I don't want people to think that when we pay for more housing and we put it into a fund, this affects the entire state and the economy of the entire. It's not just helping some individuals or helping some individual families. It helps the entire state to attract business.
It does both, and I've really not talked to anyone who doesn't have a story to tell about whether their child is still living at home after college, whether their mom or dad really needs an affordable place to live in their community and wants to stay close to their grandchildren, but can't afford to live in the home that they've had for 30 years because they're not they're retired now. So everybody really does need an affordable place to call home, and it's up to us as a society to figure out how we're going to make sure that that's available to everyone.
Yeah, I'm always concerned that somebody hears a story like this and go, "Oh, great, my taxes are going up." Now they're going to put more money. Your taxes will probably come down.
Well, I'm not prognosticating taxes going up or down. I'm just saying this funding happens because when people buy or sell a house, a portion of the realty transfer fee goes into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And so it provides resources to help the market address the housing costs.
I made that correlation because the healthier the economy is, normally the state taxes go, the revenue comes up and the taxes can even
that's the idea. And also, communities that have a strong that have a strong economy locally are able to support the kinds of developments and investments that they want, like great school systems. People want to see their neighborhood and their neighbors and their community thrive, and by having housing that people can afford and being able to have your neighbors be part of the fabric of your community, everybody does better.
Losing population's never a good thing.
It's not.
Never a good thing. Thank you
so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. Staci Berger, President and CEO of the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey. When we come right back on Jersey Matters, you're going to meet a resident of a retirement home, but it's not what you think. We'll explain when Jersey Matters continues.